So I've done a modified ketosis kind of diet where I do very high veggie, but also extremely high fat and low protein. So I would do 6 to 9 cups of veggies per day. But always combining them with lots, like extreme amounts of fat. So a lot of coconut milk, like really dense coconut milk.
With low sugar.
Yeah, but not the stuff that you see
sugar.
at Whole Foods. Like the stuff you see at Whole Foods is typically like, the stuff in the tall boxes, and you go in there and it has like 4 or 5 grams of fat per like half cup to cup of coconut milk. I get the like cooking coconut milk. Do you know what I'm talking about? The really dense stuff that typically comes in a can.
Yeah.
You can get it on Amazon, and that has 13 grams of fat per half cup. Yeah. So super fatty. And then I would take all these steamed veggies that I had then frozen, and then put them in a blender along with all that coconut fat.
So tasty.
And then just blend it up along with some coconut oil on top of that, just to give it a little bit more coconut flavor. And then I would have that for breakfast. But that's like way more carbs than you're supposed to have to keep you in ketosis, because if you go more than 20 grams of carbs per day, they typically tell you to stay under that to stay in full ketosis. But I was doing that per meal, 20 plus grams per meal.
Was this the meal, the same, you were eating the same meal, so it was just the blended?
Exactly.
That's all you were eating?
If you combine it with...
That was just his breakfast.
That was
just breakfast.
Yeah.
But if you combine it with that much fat, it slows down the digestion, and then there wasn't that huge spike. So I'd stay in ketosis if you combine it with the fat.
Did you test that?
Absolutely.
So you did it without the coconut milk and then coconut oil?
Yeah, and it kicks you out without
interesting.
it.
What were the steamed vegetables you were using?
So I'd use kale, spinach. I'd use almost everything. Like I use sea vegetables. What else did I use? Anything I could find at the store. Chard, cucumber. It wasn't really for flavor, because all that stuff blended up just tastes nasty.
Really
so it was just, when you add the coconut, you could cover up most of it with the coconut. And if you steam ahead of time, though, it actually turns the veggies into like ice crystals, so you don't need to add ice. So it kind of makes it a really, almost like ice cream like thing that you have every morning.
Green coconut ice cream.
Okay, so that was breakfast.
Yeah, throw some avocado in there as well.
Right.
Any extra fat that you can get in there.
Yeah, I make a smoothie somewhat similar to that. It's raw vegetables, chard, kale, and then I do carrots, tomato, which are more high in sugar.
I'm confused at why you add banana to yours, though.
I don't always,
Because I saw that on there. I was like, that's something I wouldn't...
Originally I added it because I was adding a lot of really nasty vegetables. I was doing mustard greens, I was doing kale. Yeah, I was doing broccoli sprouts, which are really potent and like disgusting in a smoothie.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps with the texture of it, but I like the avocado now instead for the texture, so I kind of occasionally put the banana that we share it, so it's like I get a half
so I have a banana.
Yeah. So so then lunch, you're eating...
Lunch is just full-on salad with as much fat added as possible. Sometimes I know this isn't really good in that I tried to stay away from processed meats, but I would do bacon at the place on top of that to get a lot of fat. Yeah. And then just really high fat dressings on top of that, mostly olive oil, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then dinner was just a free-for-all.
Steak and veggies.
It was like steak and veggies,
cheese.
and but grass-fed meats, things like that. We're not going crazy and doing anything industrial.
If you're eating that much fat, you have to eat.
But you were doing it with them, were you?
I did a 2-week experiment, which is totally not characteristic
Measuring
of me.
ketone bodies and everything.
Yeah, I did this. I did the stabbing, just because he was like, I've never seen him with so much energy. So that was one of the reasons he was doing this. Waking up in the morning, like going to work all day, coming home, running 5Ks. Like I was just like, who are you?
It was really kind of crazy.
I've never had fatigue problems. I'm generally really healthy and don't do diets ever. But he was like, you should know what this feels like. And I was like, okay. So I did a 2-week experiment. I felt pretty good for the most part. I got into pretty high ketosis.
You had one day where you were just like, I have insane energy.
I had one day where I had insane energy.
So what were your ketone levels like when you were measuring
2.5, something like that.
I got up over almost 3.5 ones.
Yeah, yours were really high.
My blood sugar, that's the thing, I already have pretty good blood sugar control, So for me it was not life-changing. I didn't lose a single pound. I got really sick of butter. But it was interesting.
I found out tricks on how to get myself back in pretty quick though. So if I get kicked out, it's sometimes really difficult to get back in.
Okay.
It's really hard to explain, but like, have you done any of this stuff yet?
I have not.
Okay, so like, basically what happens is, I have to do a lot of entertaining and events and things like that at night, and so sometimes like you have either more red wine than you should or things like that, and that will kick you out of ketosis. You'll go home at night, I'll measure myself, and I'm like 0.3, and I'm like, oh well, I'm falling out right now. That's like, anyone can be 0.3 if they just try for a few hours of not having sugar. And so, to get back in the next morning, I would fast a lot. I've been big into fasting.
Back in is like over 1.0, right?
Yeah, over 1.0.
Yeah.
So I would I would fast a lot, and that I would typically try, if I fast for 16 hours, so I do a lot of intermittent fasting as well, then that would get me back in right away. And especially if my breakfast was, I would do grass-fed butter with coffee. Kind of like bulletproof coffee, but I don't believe in all that modified MCT stuff that he does. But I would just do straight up coconut oil with butter in coffee, blend that up, and drink it down, and just have so much energy. It's like the best thing ever in the morning. It is insane.